And of course, you know that shortly after the presidential election, which of course, you know, we are challenging in court, there have been a whole lot of issues ranging from the position of the G5, which of course it did not pan out well even before the election. But I can speak directly to a number of these issues vis-a-vis the provision of the constitution of the party as amended in 2017. You know, it is very easy sometimes to copy, but much more difficult to paste. And so some of these persons in Benue, of course, fired by the position of Wike of Rivers, tried to copy what happened to Adam Soshomole in the APC, where from his ward right there from in Esaku suspended him. And at the end of the day, that cost him his position as the chairman, national chairman of the party. But they failed to realize that these two parties are operating two different constitutions. If you look at Section 57, subsection 7 of the PDP constitution, it is very, very clear on the issue of who has the power to suspend or discipline a member of the National Working Committee of the party or a member of the NEC, including, of course, deputy governors who may not be a member of the NEC, but are also covered by that section of the Constitution. And so when they proceeded to ask the ward of the national chairman to go ahead and take disciplinary action against him, even if they were supposed to, assuming that they have the powers, they were supposed to, first of all, give him opportunity for fair hearing. You summon him, you give him the opportunity to defend himself. But that section 57 did not even give them that power to carry out such action against a member of the National Working Committee. And so anybody who is now dependent on that position of the national chairman's ward and then proceeding to court is just part of the many troubles that some of our leaders are trying to take this country through. It might be easy for my colleagues in the media or any other person to begin to see these issues as isolated or as a PDP issue. I want to differ from that. We must begin to realize that for us to make progress in our democratic journey, we will need to begin to look at issues beyond how it affects political parties, because once it touches the political party, you must look at the ripple effect of such action on that political party on our democratic journey and indeed the unity of this country and the progress that we tend to make as we continue to forge ahead with our democratic practice. And so when individuals proceed outside the laws, whether that of the political party or that of the constitution, you begin to wonder what is wrong and how that helps us. Secondly, if an individual also proceeds to the court of law and then decide to seek an ex parte order to prevent somebody from carrying out an action, you begin to also ask, at what time do you seek an ex parte order? Do you need to, are you not supposed to place somebody on notice when there is no urgency on the issue? Do you just go and procure an order from a court because some judges are possibly pliable, and then you begin to use that to disturb the peace of the land? And individuals begin to think that it's only about the party. It's most unfortunate that those persons who have benefited from the party, particularly members of the G5, will continue to toe this path because of their own selfish desires and thinking that they are champions. I'm not too sure history is going to be very kind to them by the time we begin to document the history of this democratic journey. So, Adora and my sister Ankoli, I will want the media to begin to look at these issues based on the position of the PDP constitution and also how it affects us as a people, rather than just looking at it as just a PDP issue. I've also listened to some analysis earlier in the day of some of my colleagues saying that this may be the end of the party. That is being very, very naive about political development. ABGA is a political party that for a very long time have one state. ABGA is still waxing strong and doing well with even that one state. And so a party that has more than 10, 11 states, and we are saying because certain things didn't go his way. I don't want Nigerians to always change position because somebody is said to have lost election or have won election. It's like in the game of football. When a man plays a particular shot from the center of the field and he hits the bar or did not score the goal, everybody will begin to blame him. Why did you not pass the ball to another person? Why did you not see the other person who is closer to the goalpost? But if he decides to shoot the ball from the center of the field and eventually he scores, they will begin to praise him that the shot is hot that the man is an international player. And they begin to give him all sorts of names. Some people will say, what a hat trick. So that is the way it is. Once you lose an election, analysts begin to now show that they are very intelligent on a number of issues, including the ones that are not seized of the factors. I am quite confident that the PDP will come out stronger after all these ripples, and that the leaders of the party again will explore certain mechanisms very well enshrined in the constitution of the party to address with these many issues, even as we continue to seek judicial process to recover our mandate that we believe was controversially given to the APC. Thirdly, IU says he will step down if a president emerged from the north. As we speak, a president of the PDP has not emerged from the north. Don't forget, I have made this explanation before now, that even if IU steps down, by the provision of the constitution of the PDP, the next in line is also from the north, Damagum. Are you also going to ask Damagum to say, since IU say he will step down, that Damagum should also step down? The national secretary, by the zoning of the PDP constitution, the chairman comes from the same area that the deputy national chairman one comes from. The reason was because if anything happens to the national chairman, in order not to order that zoning, that the person who also occupies that position is from the same zone, the same region, geopolitical region, not a zone now, in which case it could be from northwest or from northeast, as in Damagum coming from northeast. Now, the national secretary usually comes from the opposite direction. As we have it today in the PDP, the national secretary of the PDP is Aniagwu from Imo State, as is in the southeast. So any attempt to want to move the chairman without having a proper change in the ESCO, which will only come through a dissolution of that ESCO at a national convention, cannot work, because except you're also going to ask Aniagwu to also just step aside, because the national chairman, if you move it to the south, in the event that even Damagum agrees that he too will step down, you will now need to also ask Aniagwu to also step down as well. And when that happens, you are going to have a much more disturbance in the party than you can imagine. So let's not just look at it from points of sentiments. Let's look at the laws of the party. It may sound sweet and nice to the ears because Nyesom Wike has been able to deploy the funds of Rivers to every day go on live coverage to begin to talk about things that are not real. Go and read this, the PDP constitution as amended 2017. I have gone through it, and I can tell you none of the provisions support what Nyesom Wike is saying. Ask him which part of this constitution supports what he's saying, particularly with respect to zoning. Yeah, we're not talking about sentiments. We're talking about what is in the laws of the PDP. Sentimentally, I would prefer possibly that the president come from the south. But if you ask me, it doesn't matter where the president comes from. Let the president work for everybody. If the president likes, for me, my own thinking, let it even come from Niger Republic. But let my country work, than for me to have a brother who is a president and I cannot have a 3 square meal. This sentiment that the political class continue to use and make it look that life will be better for you when your brother is in power, rather than what your brother does with power. I have given an example, Adora and Incolin, that when you fly a plane, when you are in the aircraft and you sit down, particularly international flight, you eat all sorts of food, you drink all sorts of wine, you don't even care who is flying you. But because you have the confidence that he's taking you to your destination, in the midst of that risk, which is even more riskier than the job of a president, because he takes you to a place where you don't have a choice. If a president is doing anyhow, you can see the Jabba syndrome. People can afford to jet out and then decide to seek asylum. Okay. When you are in the plane, 37 feet above sea level, you cannot even jump anywhere. So that's the more reason why we should look for a president that will govern for life to be better for us, rather than these sentiments of where the president comes from. Is it true that Nyesom Wike actually won Rivers with all the bragging that he did? Didn't you hear the stories of how many people's lives were sacrificed for this so-called victory that he got in Rivers? With all the boasting and everything, why didn't he just sit down and allow proper election to hold in Rivers for you to know whether he's actually in charge? Now, Otom is the governor of the 3 senatorial districts in Benue. He contested for only 1 and he lost. Would you not just say that that is also equivalent to his strength? Politics and the reason why people return to the polls is to allow the electorates make their choice. That sometimes the electorate didn't choose you doesn't mean that you are weak. It could be because of the sentiments of the electorates at that time. For instance, here in Delta, you could see the governorship result. How do you compare it with what happened with the presidential? The sentiments are different. So when you come and say because a man didn't win his ward, and that means it's not relevant. I gave you an example of Obasanjo in 1999. He did not win any of the states in the Southwest. Tinubu lost Lagos to Peter Obi. Will you now say that because of that, Peter Obi has become stronger than Tinubu, who is now the president-elect? The sentiments are usually different. And in any case, even if you want to judge somebody based on where he won or where he lost, you need to also have time to examine the circumstances surrounding the failure or otherwise of anybody in an election. Or Tom possibly could have also deployed funds to embarrass Yocha Ayu because of the position they held and they still hold as members of the G5. That's a possibility. But that is only something you can come to a conclusion when you must have been able to carry out a holistic research or possibly a review of what transpired. So anybody saying because the national chairman did not win his word, I have gone through the constitution of the PDP. I didn't see that as a criteria that you must first of all win your word before you become national chairman. I recall Ali Modu Sharif. He came from the APP and then AMPP. And I don't know how many wards he has won for the PDP before he became the acting national chairman of the party. So it's not a criteria that you must first of all win your ward, win your state before you become a national chairman. You could have a national chairman from a state where you even have another governor. That has happened in the past. And so anybody brandishing that because the national chairman did not win his word is just looking for one straw to hold. In about 2.5 months, Nyesom Wike will no longer be a governor. Then that time, reality will dawn on him that he will stop listening to himself and then also have an idea of what members of the public think about him. This is not that time. He will not have the opportunity to be singing Iyendeba. He will realize that absolute power corrupts, absolutely, and that he has enjoyed that absolutism in power. And so by the time he leaves, we'll be able to know how strong he will be. I don't like discussing him because he has shown that he does not even value those who assisted him to climb. You recall that Rotimi Amechi, beyond being Nyesom Wike's boss, had to bend backwards to impress it upon Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to appoint Nyesom Wike as a minister in the cabinet. At that time, I had the privilege of covering the Nigerian Senate. The Senate had already cleared a candidate from Rivers as a ministerial minister designate, waiting to be sworn in by the president. But Rotimi Amechi fought hard, and that was how that particular nominee that was already cleared by the Senate was withdrawn. And then Nyesom Wike was brought forward. How is he treating Rotimi Amechi today? He sings with the man. He carries out live coverages only to insult him. He says everything against him. And so, for me, I don't take him seriously. I thought that the level he has gotten to, having been a former minister and now a governor, that he should have been able to learn that there is a class that leaders belong and that leaders don't behave the way he's behaving. And so whenever his name pops up in any discussion, if it were not to be on a live program, I'll ask you to please push that aside. I like discussing individuals who display integrity at all times. To the best of my knowledge, integrity is far from him. And so please don't use him as an example when we are discussing issues that are very, very serious. Perhaps when he leaves power, we will know how much power that he will have again. And so for me, we can discuss many other issues and not the dancing Iyendeba governor who does not even understand that there are characteristics of persons who are supposed to occupy the office of a